I've had some questions about using JDF headers with the PRISMAsync controllers, so I thought I'd shoot a very quick video just to show where to start with this. Good idea to download this. This is XML Notepad. This is a Microsoft tool, handy for editing XML files, and the JDF header is essentially an XML file. So just download that from Microsoft and install that on your machine. And then we need a PRISMAsync print driver. So let's take this one. Go ahead and fill in these boxes and then make sure you get the full Postscript driver. Okay, once that's downloaded, we can run the installer and that will make the printer driver available to us. Okay, now let's just add ourselves a printer that we can use for creating JDF headers. So, local machine, and here we're going to create a local port, and we're just going to point this to a file. This file doesn't exist yet, but as soon as you start printing, the file will be created. I'm going to use this folder JDF demo for everything, which is on my C drive. We're going to call this printfile.ps. Let's browse out to the driver, and any of these will be fine. Let's just take the 6250. And let's just rename this to JDF test printer. You can then keep this on your system for any other JDF headers you want to create on the fly. So my test page is here. It's created the printfile.ps. Let's have a quick look at this. We can look at this in Notepad. Just drag it in. And here you can see the top half here is actually the JDF header, which has been created by the driver, and then followed by the Postscript, the raw Postscript. So we can split these out. So if I just select all the JDF header and then cut it, I can now create a new file. Just paste this in, which is just the header. So let's just go and save this. I'll put it in my JDF demo folder with everything else, and we'll just call it default JDF. Okay, so now I've got a file. That's my default header, and then the remaining Postscript, I can save that as, let's just call it testpage.ps. So now I've split my file into two. I've got my header and I've got my Postscript. Let's do something a little more complex now. Let's open Word and let's create a more complex JDF header that we can use for other documents. So let's open any file. I've got a demo document here which is 14 pages long. As you can see, I've got 14 pages of content. So now I'm just going to print from Word using my JDF test printer. Let's give it a job name because we can see this in the JDF. And then rather than use the media here, I'm going to use special pages with the page programmer. I'm just going to create a quick program that switches between two media stocks and then staples each section. So that's page 1, set this to a custom stock, and then we'll add the page 2 and we'll set that to A4. That, and now select the two and staple them together, and now let's repeat the program. So that will repeat it right through to the end of the file. Okay. Now click OK, and this will generate now a new print file. So printfile.ps now, if I go and look at that in Notepad. So here I've got a much larger JDF header now, because this now carries all my page programming, and then my Postscript follows. Let's take the JDF header, cut it away, and create a new file. Okay, let's save this now as something else. So let's call it complex header. Okay. We can close this, and now the remaining Postscript, I can save that as a separate Postscript file. Okay, so 14-page doc.ps. Okay, let's close this. And now let's have a quick look at XML Notepad, just so you can become familiar with it. Let's load in my default header first of all. This was created when I printed a test page when I installed the printer. It's a very short header. There's no page programming in this. And it's just standard default settings. Let's look at the complex header now, which has just been created in Word. You can see that it's taken my job name, so I can edit that if I want to. And then if I look here, I've got 2 media stocks. So for every media stock that's used in the file, I expect to see one of these tags which define the media. And then just working up through the file, you can see all the different values, which if you look at the JDF specification, explains what's available to you and what you can do and what settings are recognized by the machine. If I look here, this is the actual page programming routine in here, so you can see what gets run. So this is the first step, and it's using this media stock here, and then the next step, which runs, which then forces it to loop. It calls that media stock, and then it goes round again in a loop, essentially. Okay, let's close this now. So now to submit this file to a machine, I'll need to join the header to the Postscript. We can do that from the DOS prompt. So if I just go into my JDF demo folder, and using the copy command, I can now stick the files together. So there's my header. If I issue a switch B, that forces the copy command to copy the files as binary. So my header, then my Postscript file, and then a name for my output file will give me a new file, which if I open that up in Notepad, should have the header followed by the Postscript here. Okay, so just to move this on a step, let's look at how we might reuse that header for something else. So here's a PDF file with a number of pages in it, and I want to use my header file because I want to use my repeat programming routine on the PDF with the same stock. So let's pull my document in. The only thing I need to tell it is that I'm actually going to send it a PDF file, and that's in here actually, file spec MIME type. If I just rename this so it reads PDF instead of Postscript, then the controller will know that I'm going to be sending a PDF file after the header. So let's just rename this complex header PDF, and now I need to create a print file. Again, back to my DOS command, copy complex header PDF.xml, set it to binary, grab my sample PDF, again binary, and then create a new print file.pdf. So now I have a new file, which if I look at this one in Notepad, should give me my new header with my PDF appended to it. So I hope this has been of some help and gives you a good introduction on how to create your own JDF headers for your own projects.